we have the information. Right now it's on need-to-know basis and we don't know. But I would ask all of our candidates to please convene over here for a candidates meeting. I'm asking all our candidates to convene over here to my right. That's on the left of the stage if you're facing the stage for a candidates meeting. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. And finally, welcome to the 2024 CBC Cape Breton Mayoralty Debate for the CBRM. Thank you so much for your patience. My name is Steve Sutherland. I'm the host of Information Morning on CBC Radio in Cape Breton. Welcome to Center 200. How's everybody tonight? You can see we have a broad field of candidates assembled. We have an ambitious schedule of questions to get through this evening, so we're going to get right to it. Here's the format for the evening. All of the questions are going to come from me as the moderator. Each of your candidates has precisely 1 minute to consider the question at hand, and then each candidate gets a 30-second opportunity for rebuttal and further comment. The timing will be precise. If you see my hand go up like this, it means you have 15 seconds left to round your thought to an articulate conclusion. Otherwise, I'll ring the bell and we move on to the next candidate. After each candidate gets a minute to address the question and then 30 seconds of rebuttal and further comment, we finish comment on that particular question and then move on to the next one. We're going to be in procedure tonight for about 2 to 2.5 hours. So thank you very much for your patience in what is a very important event in the course of this election cycle. I should also acknowledge everybody who's watching us on live stream tonight. We're live streaming on the CBC Nova Scotia website, on the CBC Nova Scotia YouTube channel, and on CBC Gems. So greetings to everybody who has joined us in the live stream tonight. Apologies for the delay. We did have an unexpected delay that it has required us to forestall events and reconvene, but we are going to go ahead with the debate. And unfortunately, Vince Hall is not able to participate in the debate for tonight. A quick comment on your role. This is a hockey rink, but it's not a sporting event, nor is it a campaign event. Not everyone here has the support of a vast and organized team. So our main goal here is to hear the candidates exchange on the issues that are important to everyone in the CBRM. That's our main goal. So while we encourage you to show your appreciation for what you're hearing on stage, we ask you to behave with courtesy and restraint, refrain from calling down a candidate or interrupting a candidate while they're talking, and the main goal of this event being to have an exchange of ideas, and we're all complicit in making that happen. And on that point, to the point of courtesy and moving along with the conversation, if you wouldn't mind putting your phones on Do Not Disturb, on airplane mode, or even better, relax, ignore everyone for 2 hours, and turn your phone off. It is time now to introduce your candidates. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead with this debate. Are you ready to hear your mayoralty candidates in debate tonight? So in order from your left to your right, this is an order determined by random draw earlier today. Your candidates for mayor of the CBRM in 2024, Rankin McSween on the far left. Next up, Donnie Bassich, Cecil Clark, Joe Ward, Carla George, Kevin McEachern, James Edwards, and Archie McKinnon. We are going to begin tonight with a basic question, and we're also going to start off with a shout out to the students of Ferrisview Elementary School in North Sydney, where they're having a watch party now in the classroom. Can you imagine? School ended some time ago, but they're still being educated in the political system. So our first question this evening is actually based on a question that the kids at Ferrisview thought was very important. A question suggested by Ferrisview student Eden, who is watching on live stream. So we're asking you, starting with Rankin McSween and going across the stage in order, what is it about your background that makes you think you would be a good mayor? Rankin McSween, could you start us off, please?
Thank you for the question. Great question. I've spent my entire life attempting to be of service to this community. I've constructed housing, I've built businesses, I've negotiated with both levels of government, in terms senior government, in terms of bringing money to this community for investment. This is a very notable time, a time that we haven't had for a long time. And here's what's happening. At the same time as our population is stabilizing and growing, our level of unemployment is dropping. At the same time, what's happening is we have a housing crisis and we're paying really high municipal taxes, the highest in the entire province. I think this is like applying for a job. I want to stack my resume against all of these other candidates, and I think it'll be notably distinctive. Thank you very much.
Rankin McSween, thank you for starting us off. Next up, Donnie Bassett. You have 1 minute.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. For those of you who don't know me, I have owned and operated a successful business within the community for over 40 years. I credit my success from my early education and financial training with the bank administration of TD Bank. There I developed a strong work ethic for managing staff and the ability to work open and honestly. At that time, I worked closely with government systems within the province. Since that time, I have addressed dignitaries of government lobbying for action on various topics such as cost of living, increased price housing, and mortgages. By using my leadership qualities along with my attained knowledge, I look forward to working closely with staff and communication and honesty. We, as taxpayers, deserve transparent decision-making in all aspects of this municipality. Thank you.
Mr. Bassett, that's your time. Thank you very much. Cecil Clark, what is it about your background that makes you think you'd be a good mayor?
Eden and everyone, my passion and drive for public service is greater today than it has ever been. I have a clear vision and a realistic plan to renew the CBRM. I have learned and I have grown. My faith and belief in our future has been strengthened by my experience as a politician, volunteer, and engaged citizen. These past 4 years, I've invested myself in our community, working to provide affordable housing for seniors, supporting long-term care needs, raising much-needed capital funds for the Miners Museum, and other community work. I've put forward a plan with clear focus, measured outcomes, and accountability. It puts taxpayers first, gets back to basics while getting our fair share. I believe that the greatest impact I can have in this incredible place we call home is as your mayor. Our community needs stronger leadership to get ahead. I'm ready to govern day one. I'm ready to put you, the taxpayer, first day one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecil Clark. Next up, Joe Ward. 1 minute, please.
Well, first of all, thank you for the question, Eden. My name is Joe Ward. I'm 47 years old. I'm running to become mayor of the CBRM and to succeed Mayor Amanda McDougall-Merrill. Now, as many people do around here, after I completed my education and my degree at Dalhousie, I had to go out into the world to start my career elsewhere. I spent about 10 years in the United States. I started out in Silicon Valley, the center of the world for technology, and worked in San Francisco, and I moved around the States. And it gave me a new perspective to take home. I'm back now. I've been back for 10 years. When I come back, I'm similar to the CBU international students that come here, are immigrants to Canada, and see all this opportunity. But being from here and returning, you also start to see issues that you didn't see before you left. And now I can bring that new skill set that I developed in my career back and apply it to my role as mayor in a different way than anyone has seen done here before. Thank you.
Joe Ward, thank you very much. Carla George, could you please enlighten us in 1 minute on what makes you a good potential mayor?
Okay, well, my name is Carla George. I'm kind of the dark horse up here. Not many people know me. But my background is I have education in business management, project manager for construction. I know how to do things on time, in budget. I know how to streamline. I know how to make savings. Sometimes where there shouldn't be any, you can find some if you're looking. And I'm that person. I'm a Cape Bretoner from my head to my toe. I'm going to go over, around, under, or through to get her done. And there's not anything that's going to stop me. We have to come together as communities for all CBRM, have a unique, single focus, single purpose, together, work together for it, and grow our money in our coffers. And we need to make good investments to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carla George. Kevin McEachern, you're next.
Yes, I want to thank everybody, first of all, for being here tonight and on live stream. I am a 60-year-old man. I'm born and raised in Cape Breton. I am a business owner here in Sydney. I want to work with the people and for the people. I'm seeing a lot of things going on. I get to see a lot of the city every day. My business, I am a tow truck driver. I'm not particularly pleased with what I've been seeing since I moved back home here 10 years ago. I want to bring this city back to where it was when I left 20 years ago. There's a lot of things happening here that shouldn't be happening here. There's a lot of programs that are needed here in CBRM for our homeless people, for people in trouble with addictions, whatever. We have nothing locally for these people. We want to get this done, get things started. The security in the downtown area and cleanliness has to be fixed. We got to get the city cleaned up. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. James Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. And if I may, please allow me to acknowledge we are gathered here tonight in Unamagi, the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq Nation, working in peace and friendship. Thank you. My name is James Edwards. I'm a born and raised Cape Bretoner from Glace Bay. I live in Homeville now. I'm the current deputy mayor of CBRM and first-term councillor for District 8. Prior to that, I worked 34 years for Revenue Canada, visiting businesses of all sizes, small, medium, large-sized businesses across Canada. Since retiring in 2015, I drive a school bus for the past 10 years. I'm also the 18-year president of Glace Bay Minor Hockey, and I'm looking at my platform as to what matters most to Cape Bretoners.
James Edwards, thank you very much. And finally, on what it is about your background that makes you think you'd be a good mayor, Archie McKinnon, 1 minute.
Thank you very much. What I wanted to tell people is a lot of people on the north side know what kind of a person I am. I was a municipal councillor for 6 years in the town of Sydney Mines, one of the youngest councillors elected there. And I ran on one goal, to fix our public works department. I got chairman of public works, one of the youngest people on council, and I increased our public works by 7 workers. And we resolved our problems with the plowing of snow and different things in our municipality. I'm a fighter. I'm not a politician, I'm a leader. And that's what I'm trying to tell people here tonight. That if you elect Archie McKinnon, it's going to be a better life for people here. Lower taxes, and we're getting equalization because I've got the plan. And the plan is the people. Thank you.
Archie McKinnon, thank you very much. Now we go through the same order again, 30 more seconds. If you didn't finish telling us how great a mayor you'd be, you have a second shot at it. Keep it brief, 30 seconds, starting with Rankin McSween.
I think applying for the mayor to be considered as mayor, it is like applying for a job. And the good people of this community have to make that decision. And I think there's 2 questions you got to ask. One is, can the person you're considering do the job? And the second is, do they want the job? I can do this job, and I want this job. Thank you.
Rankin McSween, thank you very much. Donnie Bassage, 30 seconds.
I would like to say that I would like very much to have the job, but my idea of taking the job is to be honest, sincere, transparent, and deliver to the taxpayers everything I possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bassage. Cecil Clark.
You know, the CBRM now has an operating capital budget of $291 million. It's going to be soon over $300 million. Whoever's leading as mayor has to have experience day one with all the uncertainty. We're stalled as a community. We need to move forward. We need to know someone who can bring council together and work with all levels of government to get the job done and put taxpayers first. That's in my plan, and that's what I intend on doing with your support.
Joe Ward.
Many people will wonder if I have political experience, and I don't in an elected role. But over the last 10 years, I've written over 330 articles and done 100 videos all on the municipality, and there's some tough talk in there. So I have the experience of doing that. I also have experience running for council twice. What I don't have is any political baggage.
Carla George.
I have business experience. I've dealt with all levels of government in my past, and I'm all about getting things done. I don't want to make you promises I can't keep. I want to get things done correctly, and I want to make good investments that's bringing money back in the coffers so we can actually reduce taxes, not just talk about it.
Kevin McEachern.
Thank you again. I'm actually a business person. I've dealt with many businesses here in Sydney. I've actually owned multiple businesses here in Sydney myself. I think the CBRM should be run as a business. Everybody's talking about the money and the taxes. Let's see if any of the other candidates are willing to work the first year at half salary. I am.
Kevin McEachern, thank you very much. James Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. I have perhaps 50 years of community involvement at every level, dealing with not only minor hockey but community groups. Again, I want to deal with what matters most to Cape Bretoners, as in taxes, police, fire services, healthcare, housing, communication. I have the skills, the leadership abilities, the ability, the vision, and I want to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Archie McKinnon, 30 seconds to round up this question.
Yeah, just to finish off my conversation about the town of Sydney Mines, I got political baggage and it's all good. I've got 6 years, and like I said to you, I've got 6 years as a councillor in Sydney Mines and no tax increase, employing 7 new people that we put into the regional municipality before amalgamation. Thank you.
Thank you, and with that, we round up the conversation on our first question of the evening. Thank you, Eden, and thanks to everybody at Ferrisview for spending your evening with us on the live stream. This is the CBC Cape Breton 2024 CBRM Mayoralty Debate. We're located at Centre 200. You're watching us now on the live stream, and we're going to be replaying some of the segments starting tomorrow at 92.1 FM on Information Morning. Up to our next question, and so we're going to cycle through the order through the course of the evening. So Donnie Bassett, you're going to be the first one ordering this, and we cycle through everyone else. Though don't look so pleased about that. So we've been talking about a new central library in Sydney for the past 15 years. Council rejected a proposal from Harbour Royal and deferred a decision on whether to spend $30 million on renovating the old courthouse. Some advocates suggest that the time for study is past. Our question: what is your assessment of how Council has approached the issue of the new library? What do you think is the best option? And what is your plan? So on your plan for the library, 1 minute, starting with Donnie Bassett.
I think my plan, I'm not thinking, I know it is my plan, to buy the library from the provincial government for $1. Take the expenditures of all the money that they're going to allow for us and renovate, rebuild, and make it larger, because there is room there. It's in an ideal central spot, right down by the college, central, and I think the taxpayers will benefit from it because they won't be throwing away the money that's going to be needed to do all the necessary work with a replacement. Thank you.
So just to clarify, you're in support of the courthouse location?
No, I don't.
So what are your
Great
proposals?
where it is now and rebuild.
Okay, Donnie Bassett, thank you very much on the library. On your plan for a new library, Cecil Clark.
Thank you. We need a new central library, and my support has not wavered on that. Council has deferred a decision on the proposed courthouse location, and so no decision means no funding application. So a new council, your taxpayers' dollars have gone into assessing this proposal for the old courthouse. So we need to ask the provincial and federal governments, are they prepared to consider that site and fund for that site with the budget that's in place? If not, as Donnie said, there is the existing site to take down and build back up and connect into the infrastructure of the community college. Or is it a place like the center block here around Centre 200 with proposed redevelopment here, or in another central location? The other thing we have to do is, now we have the NSCC, is look at programs that can be delivered through our library system at the college. And at the end of the day, we have to look at the fact that renovating McConnell as the central library is not cost effective and it's not reasonable. That's why we have to have an effective plan to move forward.
Okay, Cecil Clark, thank you very much. On the conversation about the library, Joe Ward.
So there were kind of two problems with this. One was that it was just too slow. Council did some things that they should have done to explore the options, but just too slow. One of the things that slowed that down was commingling the idea of building the library with a commercial development that they eventually decided against, at least for now. Part of my leadership approach is making decisions. I think we've delayed it because we were unable to make a decision. So my decision will be, if we're going to do the library, we're doing a new library. We're not looking at old locations to retrofit. Now, somebody has to pay for that library. It's going to be the provincial and the federal government, but they're not going to pay for it until we decide that we are building one and where we're going to put it. We have to do that. Otherwise, they have an excuse not to send money our way because we're not ready. As mayor, I will be ready.
Joe Ward, thank you very much. So we're looking for your stand and your plan on the library. Carla George, 1 minute.
So my feeling on it is that we always seem to be being asked to pay our tax dollars, CBRM's tax dollars, to provincial projects. And I want to stop doing that. If we're going to have such a thing as a central library, then I think we need to have something like a multicultural center where we can actually have seminars, sessions for new technology, you know, maybe an Indigenous museum, a CBRM museum, and actually educate people about what Cape Breton's all about and how we provided this country with its backbone. People don't realize that. And we need to put that in the forefront so that any investment that we're making is making us money back. And if we're not making good investments, it's just a complete flow of water going right down the drain. So I want to hold the province and the federal government responsible for what they need to do and do what I need to do with our tax dollars properly. Thank you.
Carla George, thank you very much. On the library, Kevin McEachern.
I vote no. We don't need the central library. We have a library downtown. If a central library is required by the CBU and NSCC, have them build it. Put it out at the NSCC at no cost to us. Let them pay for it. I do agree with the current council. It should not be put in. As people know, I'm quite blank. I say what I think. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. But on that, no, definitely not.
Fair enough. James Edwards on the library.
Thank you, Steve. One thing is for sure, the community wants a new library. That's abundantly clear. What we don't know is where. So what I would do is I would have the library board and community stakeholders find a location for the library, work with the mayor and council, develop a design, and work with their provincial and federal partners, and along with the community to help fundraise for the library. We can't fundraise unless we have a spot for it, and after that, build it, get it done.
So what's your current thinking on where a spot would be? We still have
Well, you know
20
what?
seconds.
It was suggested to me that Open Hearth Park would be a nice location for the library, and I agree.
James Edwards, thank you very much. On a library, Archie McKinnon.
Well, first of all, politicians put us in this position. They built the university down here and forgot the library. The people on this island can't afford to pay for a library. You know, we can put a library there, I'll support it wholeheartedly, but the people of Cape Breton are not spending 5 cents on it if Archie McKinnon's the mayor. We have to get funding, we need it in equalization money, we're an underfunded municipality, and if they want to give us a library, the people that made the mistakes are the people that are going to pay to put the library there, not the taxpayers of Cape Breton Island. Thank you.
So just in the very brief time you have left, do you believe that a library is under municipal purview and municipal responsibility?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think our taxpayers have got enough things that they're responsible for as it is now that we shouldn't be responsible for.
Archie McKinnon, thank you very much. So again, your assessment of how council has approached the issue of a library, what do you think is the best option, and what's your plan? Rankin McSween, 1 minute.
As mayor, I would build a new central library. First time I heard the conversation about a library was in 2012. Since that time, Halifax has built a library, Truro has built a library, New Glasgow has built a library, Pictou has built a library, Antigonish has built a library, and we're still stuck. I think where we seem to get stuck is council has failed to make its financial commitment to this project. That's the first step. Once that's done, then we work with the senior levels of government to get matching funds. Then we proceed with the design and all of the other things that are in fact required to move forward. we get this one right, then that becomes the blueprint for all of the big infrastructure projects we want to do and need to do in this community. Thank you.
Rankin McSween, thank you very much. Further thoughts now on what should be done in the issue of a library. We also have several members who are part of administrations that made decisions on this. Perhaps you could elucidate further on what actions you took at the time. With the emphasis here on, we want to know, what is your plan? Also feel free to respond to what someone else has said or further extrapolate on what you started out with in the first minute. And we're going to do it all in 30 seconds each. Donnie Bassich, 30 seconds further on the library.
I said it before and I'll say it again. I would see municipality buy the present library for $1. At least it would be easier to get 20 million out of the federal and 10 million out of the provincial, and we wouldn't have to put a nickel into it, and we can expand it, make it look beautiful like it's all spanking new, and everybody be happy. Thank you.
Cecil Clark, 30 seconds on the library.
Steve, you asked about what was on the table before, and actually in our capital plan was $7 million towards a new library for a $21 million build. Premier McNeil was not going to move beyond $21 million. And at the same time, you have to balance all the other needs, and that's why I have a council term priorities. So what we ended up doing was not losing that extra money. We put $21 million into local roads instead.
Cecil Clark, thank you very much. Joe Ward, 30 seconds on the library.
It's going to be a new build. We're going to have to make Premier Houston or Premier Churchill, if it comes around to that, to pay. We did miss an opportunity not to incorporate it into the NSCC build. We could have did it cheaper and had it accomplished at 100% provincial dollars. Father Maroon is here. We are short funded. Archie's right. They should be paying for it 100%.
Carla George, what's your plan on the library?
So again, my plan on the library is that we're going to be making a library basically for the university. I think we can all get behind that and understand that the university may require a central library and any other trade school and stuff that we have in the area. But we need to do it smart, and we need to make sure that we're getting the money back and it's not going to the province like everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin McEachern, any further thoughts?
I still vote no, but if we are going to go ahead with the new library, I think it's something that should be paid for by the provincial government and the university and the NSCC. Simple as that. Not a cent out of the CBRM taxes.
And why the university and NSCC?
They're the ones basically it's bringing in for. That's why we need the central library.
I think the librarians would suggest it's for the use of the community programming.
We have this library here for community. We have our own library already, a perfect library, a very, very nice library.
Thank you very much, Kevin McEachern. James Edwards, further to the library.
Thank you, Steve. And first of all, I'd like to say that I voted for the waterfront library at the, we call it the Murray Chernin build. I was one of 3 councillors who voted for that. All of the pieces were in place. We had the business community. We had the Indigenous community. It was the first monument to truth and reconciliation. And you're right, there was going to be the library's own projections that there was going to be 500,000 visitors per year in that building. Thank you.
James Edwards, thank you. Archie McKinnon, further to the library.
Well, like I said, you know, I support a library. I don't support any money coming from the property taxpayers here in the CBRM. I'd also like to remind Rankin that a lot of those places you talked about, Rankin, are not in a $650 million tax municipal deficiency. And their places were probably built with our money. And that's got to stop. That money has to come to Cape Breton Island.
Last word on a new library goes to Rankin McSween.
I think where we've been stuck is that I think the mayor and council have to make a decision. And the decision they got to make is what financial commitment are they prepared to allocate to this project. Once you make that commitment, everything else rolls after that. Especially the commitment you then get from the senior levels of government to cost share. Thank you.
Very good, thank you all, and thank you. That wraps up our question on the library. Ladies and gentlemen, your candidates for 2024 CBRM Mayoralty. Once again, we're going to be cycling through the order this evening. So next up, Cecil Clark. This question is going to be going to you first, then 1 minute from each of the candidates, followed by 30 seconds of rebuttal and further conversation. You can feel free to address something someone else has said, talk about something that was on your record, or expand on something that you didn't get to finish in the first minute during the course of that rebuttal. So on CBC Cape Breton, we are doing candidates roundtables in every district in the CBRM, and one issue that keeps coming up is the tax rate. So according to the Department of Municipal Affairs, CBRM tax rates have historically been among the highest in the province. It's currently not the case, but it's still up there. A few years ago, CBRM Council voted to cut the tax rate by 5% and then had to raise it the following year. Our question to you as the candidates, what is your assessment of the current tax structure in the CBRM, and what, if anything, would you take action to change? 1 minute each of you on taxes, starting with Cecil Clark.
So to deal with this, we have to look at the complexities of the fact that our property assessment system is done by the provincial government. The property cap is run by the provincial government, and we've tried with no success to look at alternatives locally, and now it's time to look at actions that can be taken. I've proposed the D property tax that's averaging just over $5 million a year be put in reserve, and that fund would there go to be used to reduce the tax rate. So a tax on properties goes to support those with properties, and having an effective measure to be able to do that and predict it and do long-term planning around that. But we also have to look at measures that provide relief, and I hope we'll talk about housing. Some of those housing reliefs are looking at first-time home buyers, young people that need an opportunity, looking at seniors that want to downsize but don't want to be penalized with higher tax rates and allowing to carry over maybe a cap assessment rate, and looking at measures that can be put in place to smooth the cost in areas where it's spiked up, where people are paying 3 times the cost.
Thank you very much, Cecil Clark. Joe Ward, 1 minute on taxes.
Okay, tax is my principal thing in my platform, actually. So as the Nova Scotians for Equalization have taught us, we are severely underfunded, and it is the reason that we have tax rates that are killing us in our homes, driving rental prices up, and also hurting our businesses. So basically, we have to bring new funding in, or we have to cut expenses like the education expense that was left in when they did Bill 340. That is how we can adjust the tax rate, and it can be done. I sat in a room with Tim Houston. He called me to a meeting after I wrote him a letter, and he said, we're doubling equalization. And I said, why did you decide to do that? And he said, you influenced me with your letter. Now, perhaps that's political flattery. He read the letter. He called me to the meeting. He did something on equalization, not enough, but something. And I think we can get that deal again if we show up and negotiate from a business perspective and not a political perspective.
Joe Ward, thank you very much. Your analysis on the tax situation and financial sustainability in the CBRM, Carla George.
Hi. So my focus is going to be going after the Health and Welfare Act, the Education Act, and the different segments within that side that the province is legally responsible for. There are threads and legal things that we can do to make sure that we are getting our due. Equalization has no strings attached. Unfortunately, it's like beating a drum that's going nowhere because it has no laws attached to it. This does. It has teeth, and it's something we can do. The other thing is I want to do all year-round tourism. I want to make investments like taking up the railroad tracks and making ATV and snowmobile trails where tourists have to, buy a month pass or a 5-day pass or whatever. We'll come up with a good structure that's putting money back into our coffers. We need to be accountable for us. We need to come up with solutions that are continually putting money in our coffers. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla George. Kevin McEachern on taxes.
They suck. Sorry. No,
Unnecessary evil, perhaps? Another interpretation?
I'm sorry. Our taxes, I do believe there are seniors that are taxed half to death with the way they are, first-time home buyers. That should be cut down to a very, very low percentage, especially for our seniors, our veterans. They should have an excellent tax break as well. Working as mayor, working with the province and the federal government, I do believe that we can get this done. I am a fighter, as everybody knows. I will fight for what I think is right, and I will get it done.
Kevin McEachern on taxes. Thank you very much. James Edwards.
Thank you very much, Steve. The very first thing in my platform is within the first 90 days of after I assume the mayor's office, I will have a tax symposium with the mayor, council, and staff stakeholders, business leaders, will include CBU. We have to address the burden of the tax and CBRM, and everything is on the table. The tax holiday for new business, perhaps, the wastewater, the deed transfer tax. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business state that the #1 detriment to new business in CBRM is the property tax. So it has to be reviewed, it has to be addressed, it has to be lowered so we can continue with our economic ability.
James Edwards, thank you very much. So your assessment of the current tax structure and what, if anything, you do to take action to change it. Archie McKinnon, 1 minute.
Well, I'll tell you, I've spent a lot of time with Father Maroon. He's been fighting for 30 years, spending his own money. And anybody up here on this stage can say and do whatever they want, but at the end of the day, we're not getting equalization unless the people rally behind the leader that's going to get it. And I'm telling you people right now that if I'm elected mayor, I'll rally this community and everybody in this hall will end up being on our side, because that's the only way the politicians are going to understand, is when the people unite, come together, and have a leader, a union leader that fights for a better for people and not to take it away from them, like some of the people up here on the stage.
Archie McKinnon, thank you very much. Your thoughts on CBRM taxes, Rankin McSween.
Critical issue. I mean, I think one of the things that's important to keep in mind is after over 5 decades of decline, this community, the population is stabilized and the level of unemployment is dropping. We've got a foundation to build an economy. That's incredibly difficult to build given where our taxes are and where our services, the low level of services. It's unfair, but more importantly, it's uncompetitive. It makes us uncompetitive. I say we have to go to the senior levels of government and show them where we can go, show them the day is coming where we're going to be able to stand on our feet. And in the meantime, they need to bridge us. They need to help us to get our taxes down to an appropriate and fair level, and they need us to enable us to bring our services up to the standard they should be at. Thank you.
One more 1-minute segment on the issue of taxes from Donnie Bassich.
We are paying a lot of property taxes, so if I'm elected mayor, I promise that I will give rebates to all residential taxpayers up to $1,000, depending on the amount of taxes that they're paying. I don't have, thank you. We won't have to say we don't have the money, because we will have the money, because I will spend your money very consciously, with honesty, integrity, as well as putting it in the right direction. Thank you.
You still have about 20 seconds to tell us where the $1,000 rebate per person is coming from.
Well, as Cecil said, we're almost up to $300 million in revenue. And $300 million is probably the cash, like somebody like people would say, oh, that's a lot of money, and it is, but not if you don't spend it in the right direction. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bassich, thank you very much. So now we have 30 seconds each of rebuttal and further conversation, starting with Cecil Clark. Cecil.
So one of the things we have to do is we have to grow our community, because to deal with this housing crisis, we need hundreds of more subdivision lots, the undeveloped lots, to be opened up for development in our community. By going to the federal and provincial governments for the money for housing initiatives and upstarts to get the roads, the sewer, the water in place, we create the space for the developers and people to have homes. The tax base will expand, and then further can help us reduce tax rates and the burden on our citizens.
Thank you, Cecil Clark. Joe Ward, further thoughts on your action on taxes?
This is how you can tell I'm not a typical politician. I have a solution for the tax cap, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. We can fix the tax cap, and for everyone that's holding it right now that's worried, the way we do that is when we bring that equalization grant increase in, we use it so that when we break the cap in 1 year instead of 7, you don't pay more. We can guarantee that, or we just won't do it. We do it through a charter, a municipal charter that focuses solely on that.
Thank you very much. Some candidates will be relieved, maybe others won't, to know that we will have further opportunity to talk about equalization, municipal funds transfer relationship with the province in before too long. Carla George, 30 seconds on taxes.
So everybody's talking about, oh, you know, we can reduce taxes if this, if that, if this, if that. Ifs are not going to get it done. I can look at a can of pop for a year. It's still going to be a can of pop at the end of the year. We need to make smart investments so money is coming into our CBRM by all communities, not just one, not just Sydney, everybody. Everybody needs to win so we can all be successful. And we need to make smart investments, bring in revenue so taxes can come down. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin McEachern.
Okay, to save on our taxes, first thing we do is start cutting a few things here in the city. A few things we don't need, the Cape Breton Regional Police. Right now, it's costing approximately 14 times more to have the Cape Breton Regional Police here than what it would be to have the RCMP here. Get rid of them. Bring the RCMP back. They're better trained. That solve a lot of the problems right there.
Okay, Kevin McEachern, thank you. Further on your plan for taxes, James Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. We have to listen to our community and our business leaders. We have a great resource at CBU and the community college. We have to use those resources to figure out how this can be done to benefit all in Cape Breton, to make CBRM a better place now and in the future for all.
And very briefly, what do you see as the role of those organizations? Why consult them on tax structure?
Help us figure it out.
Okay. Archie McKinnon, further to taxes and your approach to the finances.
Well, I'll tell you, for the last 4 years, we've been working hard. We've got all different kinds of groups put together. We've got the Cape Breton Autonomy Group that wants to hold a plebiscite. If the provincial government doesn't want to give us equalization money, we'll hold a plebiscite and maybe we'll just leave the province of Nova Scotia. You know, we have to fight. We have to use whatever we can. We've got an organization the last 4 years, or an organization of independent candidates that are going to support equalization and going to run right across this province.
Thank you, Archie McKinnon. On your plan when it comes to approaching taxes, Rankin McSween, 30 seconds.
It wasn't that long ago I really despaired of whatever role the province wasn't playing here in Cape Breton. I think there's been a shift in recent years. We have 3 great examples of a provincial investment, including the relocation of the Nova Scotia Community College, including the investments in healthcare, particularly the Cancer Centre, and et cetera, et cetera. I think the time has come to negotiate and convince them. They bridges, we can grow an economy that can contribute to the provincial family.
Okay, thank you very much, Rankin McSween. Final word to you, Donnie Bassich, on addressing the tax structure.
Like I said before, and I'll say it again, $300 million at our disposal to spend if we can spend it wisely. We don't have to go begging to the provincial or the federal governments. Their debt is surmounting as we speak. And if they don't curb their spending, there's not going to be any money for anybody. So all I can say is we'll spend our money wisely and we will come out on top. Thank you.
And thank you. And that ends discussion on the issue of taxes for this evening. And this has come up a couple of times in the course of this conversation. So in our next question, which is going to go to each candidate on the topic of our relationship with the province and equalization. Few would quibble with the characterization of the CBRM's engagement with the province as fraught. At times, it's been the subject of court challenges, and during the current term, broadsides between the mayor and the minister. Our current premier made the promise of doubling the municipal capacity grant when he was elected, which did happen for 1 year. Members of council have been, shall we say, less than admiring in their assessment of the new service exchange agreement with the province and the other municipalities across Nova Scotia. So, our question to you, what action will you take when it comes to the municipality's relationship with the province? Starting now with 1 minute from you, Joe Ward.
As your next mayor, I would start by letting the province know that we're ready to start a brand new relationship. What we saw was the impact of party politics infused into the CBRM Council. That's what we saw. They fight when they're opposing each other, and it's hidden because there's no parties revealed at the municipal level. Tim Houston already did something, okay? So we can do more, but he has to know that the person coming to him just wants to make a deal, not to put him in a bad light or advance a party politic. That's why I'm the best option. This is supposed to be nonpartisan, and I'm nonpartisan. That's how I'll approach it. We'll negotiate fairly with no party baggage.
Joe Ward, thank you very much. Carla George, on our relationship with the province.
So my first step, obviously, is going to be negotiation and have a conversation about what we can do. And if we're not getting our due and our fair share, then I'll be going to the federal government for an audit on the Health and Welfare Act, on the Education Act, and all the other sides of that program that's supposed to give us fair and equal access as all citizens of Nova Scotia. Now, those are laws that we can actually affect, and it's an audit we can actually get, and the federal government is obliged to give it to us. So that's my negotiating tactic, is to actually lay the cards on the table and say, this is what is supposed to be our fair share. Here's what we're getting. Now we can see it. By law, they have to give it to us, and start at that point. And that's what we need to do, and we need to bring in our own revenue to start to stand on our own. Thank you.
Thank you. Carla George. On our relationship with the province, Kevin McEachern, 1 minute.
I personally think that we should work together, hand in hand with the province, bring our equalization up to where it's supposed to be. If they don't want to work with us with that, fight for it. Do what we have to do to get it done. Rally the people together, stand up against the provincial government. Get the equalization down here where it's supposed to be, get the payments coming in when they're supposed to be, get things working the way they're supposed to be.
Okay, thank you very much. James Edwards, what action will you take when it comes to the municipality's relationship with the province?
Thank you, Steve. And like one of my colleagues here, I want everybody to know that CBRM is open for business. We have to build CBRM. We have to renew or reestablish our liaison with the province and the feds, as a matter of fact. But we just need improved relations. And, you know, we're not looking for handouts. We're looking for heads up or a hand up there with a partnership in the provincial funds. And one more thing I can add, this isn't just a CBRM Halifax issue as far as equalization is concerned. This is a national issue, and I know that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities are also working on this on behalf of all municipalities throughout Canada.
Okay, James Edwards. On the municipal transfers, on our relationship with the province, or as some call it, equalization, Archie McKinnon.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say 4 years ago, during the leadership for the Conservative Party, I paid $10. And that's not the first time I did it. I paid $10 and I joined the Conservative Party. I got on Tim Houston's team because I didn't trust Russell or Cecil. And I got Tim Houston to give us $1 million in equalization. And I told him, I said, he'll win the leadership. And I went around the north side, and all my family members, my friends, my relatives, they all signed cards for him. And he beat Cecil. So and I think, so what I'm trying to tell people is that the last time that I spoke to Tim Houston, I was on his election team to defeat Cecil. And I got $1 million in equalization for $10. And when I was finished, I tore up my card.
Just very briefly, because we're out of time, Archie, we did consult the CBRM, and according to the CBRM, they can't verify that $1 million extra was ever received. Like where?
Yeah, it actually came down. It came down, and nobody was there to accept it. But Tim Houston brought it down, and it was dropped off to the CBRM.
Okay. On our relationship with the province, Rankin McSween.
I think we clearly need to negotiate with the province. I think my experience is and I've worked and negotiated with a lot of government departments, you present a thoroughly researched, well put together proposal. you inevitably, and you strongly bring that forward. I've never had an experience where you didn't get to the outcome you needed to get to. That's not to say it's easy, that's not to say it happens quickly, but you stay with it, you stay committed, and you can get there. That's my experience. Thank you.
You have a brief time to tell us, Rankin, of a quick example when that happened.
I think probably something that's quite outstanding. I mean, I got into this set of negotiations with the Department of National Defense about their legacy of contamination here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Those negotiations went on a long time, but we got there. We got there.
Very good, Rankin McSween. Thank you very much. Donnie Bassich, 1 minute.
Give me a second now before I start talking.
We're talking about relationship with the province.
Yes. When we're talking about transfer payments from the federal government to the provincial government, the provincial government does not have the right to take money from our allotment, even although it's for some service that we have to pay the provincial government for. What I would do, I would go to Ottawa to make sure that we get what we're supposed to get. And if we owe the province money, we'll do and pay for it because we want to do that, because we have to do that. But the value of our transfer payments should not be touched in any way, shape, or form, because I think the law says it's not just. Thank you.
And you have a little bit of time left, Donnie, so what about the fact that the current minister says that funding services agreement with the municipalities is done?
Well, I can tell you this, if you go to the Department of Municipal Affairs, they say we don't do anything with municipalities. They look after it themselves. But what they forget to think that in order for the municipality to borrow money, the Lieutenant Governor and the Minister of Municipal Affairs has to guarantee the loan. So how could they have nothing to do with it?
Okay, we'll end that there. Cecil Clark, 1 minute on the relationship with the province.
If you're going to consider running for mayor, you also have to look at the relationships that are required to move forward with a comprehensive plan as I'm presenting to the citizens of CBRM. So looking at running for mayor, I met with the Premier, I met with the Liberal leader, I met with the NDP leader, I met with all CBRM MLAs regardless of party, I met with the members of Parliament, and I met with every councillor in the CBRM to talk about the core priorities that I would bring forward as mayor to be prepared. And in so doing, we have to look at other mechanisms and ideas so the province can fund. For instance, Nova Scotia Health, our HandyTrans went from 100 to 800 users for medical transfers. We need Nova Scotia to help fund our transit system to support that. Getting Build Nova Scotia to take over our waterfront like they do in Halifax and Lunenburg and allow us to put those resources in the other downtowns areas of the CBRM. Negotiate a proper service exchange on roads. That was left off the table and quite frankly was not fair enough. We got to go back to the table and negotiate as well. The other thing we have to do is secure 100% of the funding for the almost $250 million to clean up wastewater for the north side as well as New Waterford.
Okay, thank you very much, Cecil Clark. That is our first round. We have one more briefer round where you can rebut, you can add information, you can comment on what someone else said, but you have to do it in 30 seconds, starting with you, Joe Ward, on the relationship with the province.
So one of the problems Cecil had as mayor was that he didn't want equalization. He opposed it. The problem McDougall had with equalization in the 15 million was that they didn't have a plan to spend it. So we had tax breaks going to Walmart. When we ask for it, we have to have a plan to spend it properly and to guarantee the province that when they hand it over, we'll spend it correctly, and we will.
Joe Ward, thank you. Carlo George.
We just need to make sure that the province is accountable for what they need to be accountable for, and I plan on doing that as your mayor. I am absolutely going to hold them accountable, and we also need to take control back of the CBRM. We need to own it in every way possible so that we're collecting our due from our hard work.
Carlo George, thank you. Kevin McEachern.
We have to get our fair share. It's simple. Our equalization has to come to us. We have to try the friendly manner. That doesn't work. Let's all rally together and fight for it.
Okay. Further to your early comments on the relationship with the province, your proposal and your plan to move that forward and what should be done about it. James Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. And you know what? We work with the province and our federal partners on a daily basis. relationship isn't entirely broken. And again, we as Cape Bretoners, we're not looking for a handout. We're looking for a hand up to help with us. And one thing I can say about the governance of the port, we don't need any more bureaucratic red tape for that. We've got an excellent board there who are working on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We're out of time. Archie McKinnon.
Like I said, we're not looking for anything different than anybody else. We're only looking to be treated fairly. We're a highly taxed municipality. We've got high levels of unemployment. We've got a large portion of this municipality, like 45% or something, that are seniors that are living in poverty and paying the highest of taxes. It's got to stop. We got to get equalization, bottom line.
Thank you very much. Following up on your earlier comments, Rankin McSween.
We've got a chance that we haven't had for an awful long time. We've got a chance to put a foundation in place to build a viable economy. I think it's a new time for a new relationship with the province of Nova Scotia. I think it's time to negotiate. I want to do those negotiations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Donnie Bassich.
As much as I don't like to, but I would have to agree with with Rankin. But in saying all that, we got to be good negotiators. We don't got to go in with the gun in our hand and say, you got to do this or you got to do that. I mean, in real life, if you did that, nobody would talk to you. So let's get negotiable. That's what I say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we're allowed to agree, aren't we? Once in a while?
Yeah.
Last word to you on the relationship with the province, Cecil Clark.
Well, I do agree we have to negotiate. We have to negotiate our fair share. And I was very proud as your mayor when no other municipality in Nova Scotia got 100% funding for wastewater projects. And I received $106 million for Glace Bay and Port Marion projects. I can do the same thing for the north side and for New Waterford. And an example with the NSCC, when we had to facilitate them, we got a brand new fire station, and the province paid for that. It's about who can negotiate, who knows how to negotiate, and get the job done for the taxpayers, the CBRM.
And that finishes discussion on this particular topic. Thank you all. You're listening to CBC in Cape Breton, and you're watching us on live stream. If you're watching us on CBC Gem or on the CBC Nova Scotia website or on the CBC Nova Scotia YouTube page, welcome this evening. We're in conversation with Rankin McSween, Donnie Bassich, Cecil Clark, Joe Ward, Carla George, Kevin McCackern, James Edwards, and Archie McKinnon. Your candidates for mayor in the CBRM. Vince Hall was unable to attend tonight unexpectedly through no fault of his own. So our best wishes to Mr. Hall. And thank you for joining us on the live stream. We're going to be posting this in full in the coming days. You can hear it on the CBC Listen app. You can also find it on the CBC Nova Scotia website. And we'll be airing segments on Information Morning and CBC Radio around Cape Breton. So we just had a couple of rounds on fiscal policy, so now we're going to enter into some social policy conversation. Of course, it's all attached to fiscal policy in the end. So next up, a conversation about housing. According to a needs assessment released by the province, the CBRM is short by at least 1,000 units. Decisions on affordable housing developments have inspired some controversy over the past administration. Council at first voted down a proposal to access $5 million in funding from the Federal Rapid Housing Initiative. When it finally went through, there was resistance to the original site on Stewart Street and then to its current location in North End, Sydney. We've had a push for better regulation of boarding houses, and there are now new fees coming down from the province to discourage short-term rentals like Airbnbs. A brief synopsis and incomplete, but that frames the discussion on housing. So our question: what action will you take to address the housing crunch in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality? 1 minute from each of you. We're going to rotate the order, starting with Carla George on housing. 1 minute.
So I think we need to look at the vacant buildings that are available now for homeless and people that are having addiction issues and whatnot. And we need to be making sure that we have availability across all communities. And I am definitely going to negotiate with the province on that as a health and welfare issue. And that will also help clean up the downtown area because there are certainly better ways to facilitate getting help for people who need it. That being said, we can also help seniors by making vacant buildings into spaces that are safe and clean and beautiful for them to stay. And I think that's what we need to be doing, is strategizing with the province to make sure that people here are getting what they need across all communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On your plan when it comes to housing, Kevin McEachern.
You stated that we're in deficit of about 1,000. I think it's probably closer to 2,500 more housing units that we need here. I think that we should take these vacant buildings to the CBRM-owned properties, they're surplus properties as they call them, turn them into residential units. Get these people off the street. Get some programs started for our people who are on the streets, not just on the streets, but addiction counseling, whatever. Get the municipality in, working with them. Get some social workers working with them. I know, like with the CBRM Police Department, they're always complaining that they've got no social workers, they don't know what to do with these people. Get people trained. Get rid of the CBRM, bring the RCMP back in. They're trained for it. They know what they're doing. We have to work together. We got to try to get things done here. There is an incredible number of vacant buildings that's here for the CBRM. Put them to use.
Okay, Kevin McEachern, thank you very much. On your plan to address the housing crunch in the CBRM, James Edwards, 1 minute.
Thank you, Steve. The one thing is certain, the housing is for all. Everyone matters in CBRM. So through Council's efforts in the last 4 years, we received some $17 million from the federal government for housing, $5 million of which went to New Dawn, I might add. And so that's taking care of a certain amount of housing for vulnerable people. But some of my colleagues alluded to the appropriate surplus land, or identifying surplus buildings that we can also help with the housing crunch. But we have to work with, as a team, work with our builders, perhaps offer a tax incentive to help with housing, but and then we have to build it. We have to get it done.
James Edwards, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So on the municipal approach to housing and the municipal role in solving the housing crunch, Archie McKinnon, 1 minute.
Well, again, you know, it's kind of the same old story. It takes money to do it municipally, but I mean, we have to try to look at vacant buildings, tap in and see if we can get some sort of federal funding. But I mean, I kind of agree with what Kevin said. There's a lot more than 1,000. I mean, there's a lot of seniors that I've been in their homes and they're paying property taxes on houses that should be condemned. But what are you going to do? It's all they got. They've got nowhere else to live. You can't ask them to go out and live in a tent somewhere. But I mean, that's what's going on here. We need more funding. We need funding for grants. And, you know, people have been calling me because I'm a carpenter, and they say they've got all kinds of grants and can't seem to get nothing done because a lot of the criteria, the builders are not even interested in working on the grants. So the government's saving the money because they're saying we're offering it and you didn't get a carpenter, so you lost the money, and the government saves the money at the end of the year because they didn't spend it.
Thank you very much, Archie McKinnon. Rankin McSween, what action will you take to address the housing crunch?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think it's really important to understand that the vacancy rate here is 0.8%. 0.8%. That's worse than Halifax, and that's even worse than the city of Vancouver. My number is the same as was mentioned earlier. My number is we need, and this is a provincial number that I'm working with, we need over 2,500 new units in housing. That's what we need. I think the mayor and the municipality has to take the lead on that. We have to convene all of the relevant players in this community, CBU, Nova Scotia Community College, developers, the nonprofits that are in the housing business, the province, and the federal government, and make a plan in terms of how we're going to get that done and how we're going to get it done quick. Thank you.
Rankin McSween on housing. Donnie Bassich.
Thank you. When it comes to housing, I think of a lot of people who have mental health. And by having mental health, it puts a very strong, it has a very strong effect on housing for people. But the ones that have mental health are not getting the care and the health response from the medical field, from doctors, that they should be getting, so that they can come and get better and not depend on so much of the system. So what I'm saying is we should also look at mental health to help some of the housing problems. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Your plan to address housing, Cecil Clark.
I think we all agree that we are in a housing crisis and we need to take tangible, real action. Right now, throughout the CBRM, there are dozens and dozens of vacant Nova Scotia housing, seniors and regular public housing units. They're waiting for repairs and renovations for people to get in. We need to work with the province to say, what can we do to get assistance or support or funnel the resources to get those existing units open for everybody? We've all, as I said, all kinds of undeveloped lots right now that have water, sewer, and power. Tell people what they can do, not what they can't. Whether that's a tiny home or a mobile home or a right size, we'll say this is what you can do on that property. And the other thing is to speed up what I said before about hundreds. We need subdivisions to open up the market, and we have to do that through the federal and provincial programs. I worked with Sydney Mines with the new seniors that just opens up, the housing that was there at 22. I know how to get through all the bureaucracy and help communities get these projects realized, and that people are now in quality housing as a result. And one last thing, Cape Breton University is waiting to build their 145 units at the Tartan Downs site. We've got to get behind them and get the federal money.
Thank you, Cecil Clark. Joe Ward to finish off this first round of 1 minute each on housing.
The first thing we have to recognize is that we have such low vacancy and such high rates that are affecting locals and students alike is because although it's a prized institution that we appreciate, CBU enrolled excessive amount of students before we were ready. I'd like to double the amount of students, but when we're ready. Not to harm local residents and certainly not to harm the students themselves, some of whom are living in Halifax and having to drive to classes here in order to do that. That's one. The second is financial. If you go to a bank and a mortgage rate is 5% at one and 2.5% at the other, you're going to take the mortgage rate at the 2.5%. With taxes, that's a part of why our housing doesn't develop. An investor who's wealthy in Nova Scotia and wants to build can go to Truro or Bedford and build there. They don't want to build in the CBRM if it's double the rates. That tax plan is what will get housing development in the private sector to start. It'll start a housing boom.
Very good, Joe Ward. Thank you very much. That is the first round of conversation on housing. Again, we're looking for what action you'll take to address the housing crunch in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. What is within and should be within the purview of you as mayor and of regional council. Starting with you, Carla George, 30 seconds.
So we need to look after our most vulnerable citizens in our CBRM. And I hear a lot of, getting back to basics and, we're going to work with the government and get their money for this, but that's not action today. We need to put plans in action of buildings that are available now where we can get people off the street and then begin to deal with the real issues after we're actually getting something done. We need real results, not just talk and make a plan and study. So,
thank you, Carla George. 30 seconds, Kevin McEachern.
I have to agree with Carla as well. We do have to get these people off the street. We have to work with our seniors, with our veterans. There are so many people that's struggling so hard right now, it's just unreal. People with addictions. We have to get programs organized and started here within the CBRM. Work with these people. Simple as that.
And briefly, because you have a bit of time left, you mentioned using vacant buildings for housing. Who would pay?
I'm sorry?
Who would pay to convert the vacant buildings to housing in your plan?
With that, if the CBRM was to convert them to housing, and then with the provincial subsidies for rentals for these people, it would be covered.
Okay.
It'd be one hand feeding the other.
James Edwards?
It's a huge problem, Steve, and it takes teamwork to get this done. Of course, CBRM will do our part, but there's lessons to be learned from CBU, Member 2 Escazone. We have to bring our funding partners together, the federal partners, provincial, and our business leaders. Perhaps we can look at a tax incentive in my a tax symposium as well to address the housing shortage as well.
Okay, James Edwards, thank you. Archie McKinnon.
Well, it kind of puts me back to equalization. If we got our equalization money and we lowered property taxes here, a lot of more people would want to build here. I've traveled all across Canada myself for work because you can't work in Cape Breton Island on minimum wage and try to live and pay taxes. So equalization again, lowering taxes, people will be more interested in building instead of leaving here and going to Alberta, Ontario, and right across Canada to live and leaving their families, their parents behind.
Okay, Archie McKinnon, thank you. Further rebuttal or information on housing? Rankin McSween.
Two things are critically important. First of all, we've got to understand that this is a crisis. We need over 2,500 houses now. That's going to happen now. The second thing I think that's really important to understand is to get this done. Communities that are building houses, they're municipally led. That's not to say the municipality pays for it, but they convene the people to get the job done, the critical people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Donnie Bassich.
Housing is just as important as any other defeat or perception that we can have. So it's like everything else. I mean, yes, from what I heard here all night, we're trying to get the government to spend more money, but we're also trying to get municipality to spend more money. It can't happen like that because there is a money shortage because it's not spent in the right direction. That's the big thing, spending your dollars in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to finish up with Cecil Clark and Joe Ward on housing. Cecil Clark, 30 seconds.
One of the things we also have to look at, in addition to the other things I discussed, was looking what Member 2 is doing right now is Nova Scotia Housing, that's modular housing, to catch up with the demand. What things can put housing on the market faster and work through those relationships as well. But the other thing I've implemented is a trusted partner program to certify contractors and developers in order to reduce red tape and wait times. We're holding back our contracting community from getting things done. We can use technology and apps to do inspections and approvals and make sure these houses are getting built sooner and quicker and more efficiently and saving everybody the money in the meantime.
Okay. Last word to you, Joe Ward, on housing.
We used to go to the province and say we have a tax problem. Now we can go to the province and say we all have a housing problem, and you certainly have a housing problem, especially before an election. And a solution to the housing problem is to lower taxes, and that can be resolved with an increased grant. So Archie's right, that is a part of the solution, and that's how I'll negotiate it.
Okay, Joe Ward, thank you very much, and thank you all for your comments on your ideas when it comes to the municipal role in housing. We're going to be changing the order. We're continuing across the stage here, so this next question is directed first to Kevin McCachran, and then we'll go around the table. So this next topic is going to touch on some themes that we can continue to expand from the previous one, and some that a couple of you touched on through the course of that conversation on housing. So a daily stress for many Cape Bretoners is the challenge of not having enough. The Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, using data from StatsCan, says that of all the children in Cape Breton, 1/3 live in poverty. Recent numbers show that Nova Scotia has the highest rate of poverty in Canada when it comes to senior citizens. There have been concerns about the location of the Ally Centre, and the Pallet Shelter Village had to be moved after resistance to the original location. During the big storm in February, we actually had a woman call us live in the air at CBC from where she was living in a tent next to the water tower with only a candle for warmth. Our question to you on poverty, homelessness, and on vulnerable populations: what do you think is the role of the mayor and of local government in handling the challenges around our most vulnerable people? We're going to start with 1 minute from each of you. Kevin McCachran, if you could kick us off.
As I stated before, the CBRM has a lot of vacant properties here. They should get in, get these buildings redone, get them set up as housing units. Again, the provincial government will subsidize the rentals, so it's actually an investment. Get in there, get it done, get these people work for them. The Ally Centre, my opinion on that, it shouldn't be there. The homeless shelter downtown, that shouldn't be there. We do need them, yes, but not in our downtown core. Get them out of our downtown. Simple as that.
You have a bit of time left. Where should they be?
Out of the downtown core. The far end of the old steel plant would be perfect for it. Down off Spar Road. That would be a perfect area.
Like down where the pallet shelter was originally proposed?
No, down, farther down, right almost on the waterfront.
Okay, how would people access it?
There's buses that go over Spar Road. It'd be a 5-minute walk from Spar Road to the area.
Okay, thank you, Kevin McCachran. James Edwards, on what you think the municipal role is and the role of mayor in addressing the situation faced by some of our most vulnerable populations.
Thank you, Steve. And you know what? Poverty translates to jobs as well. We have to do what we can to improve the employment in the area, to generate revenue. We have to work with our industry professionals, the mental health and the addictions people. We have much to learn from our partners. One thing that we can look at is in our food security with the stakeholders, with our assist our community groups in the community gardens. For example, we have community gardens in various areas in District 8, Number 11, in Donkin, Manitou, Lewisburg. There's also areas of the land shortage, and look at a land tax exemption for food growing as well.
Okay, thank you very much, James Edwards. Archie McKinnon.
Yeah, there's a lot of people hurting. It's not just the people that are out homeless living on the streets. You know, for the last 4 years, I've helped a lot of seniors on the north side, and I'm sure a lot of them are listening here tonight. I've been in homes with seniors that had shut their heat off in the nighttime. Other seniors that had 3 and 4 cats to keep them warm because they couldn't afford to heat the house, pay taxes, the whole 9 yards. So there's a lot of hurt, and if I'm the mayor, I'll do everything in my power, and if I can't, I'll do it as an individual. Thank you.
A little bit of time left, Archie, so what would you do?
Well, like I said, you know, again, it goes back to grants and different things. You know, we have to come up with some sort of a solution to get grants and different things to help people. And the structure of what government's got now for these RAP grants is the criteria. Most of the contractors are not even interested in doing them. So the government saves millions of dollars because if they can't get the contractors, they save the money.
Okay. Rankin McSween, on local government role in the situation facing some of our most vulnerable populations.
I think, well, first of all, look, the issue in terms of people that are homeless is to provide them with a home. I mean, it's that simple. But the problem is our vacancy rate is 0.8%. 0.8%. So this is part of the larger housing crisis. That's the challenge we've got. Okay. So I think, again, this is a call for municipal leadership. This is a call for leadership by the mayor. This is a problem that's got to be dealt with ASAP. It's a priority. It might be the #1 priority. This is a terrible thing for people who are suffering with an addiction or a mental illness to have to suffer that homeless on the street.
Rankin McSween, thank you very much. Donnie Bassich, 1 minute.
You know, I've been listening here all night about all the things we're going to do if we are elected. Nobody has talked about what the municipality is committed to now in order to do the things we want to do. We don't know that. We don't have that knowledge. There's never a full statement that tells us what the municipality is doing with our tax dollars. So if we can get in there and do our jobs with honesty and integrity and direct the sources to where they're supposed to be and no payoffs, but get the job done. And that's what we got to do. Thank you.
Donnie Bassich, thank you. Cecil Clark, on the municipality's role in addressing some of the challenges of our most vulnerable vulnerable populations.
And there's no quick or easy answer, and it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting and hard work, but you have to have a plan. And that plan has to be based on compassion, care, and accountability. Everyone should feel safe in their community. I have on my votececilclark.ca my plan for the rapid response. It includes establishing a full-time police station in downtown, having security cameras throughout our downtowns across the CBRM. We have to expand our intervention and prevention programs for youth. We have to look at deploying, with the province and the federal government support, street social workers and mental health services on the ground. We saw EHS on bikes where they can help intervene in hotspots. We have to work with agencies to address the food, shelter, and counseling needs of vulnerable populations, and also identify appropriate and provide appropriate locations for the Allied Center and homeless shelters. You talk about wraparound care. It's not throwing people out in the street in the morning. It's making sure they have the services, the supports, and the environment that allow them to lift them up, and if in cases for recovery or better housing.
And very briefly, just to expand, are you saying the Allied Center should move?
Yes.
Okay, Joe Ward?
When we see an increasing number of homeless people, it's because the layer that we don't see, the people that are just barely hanging on to their housing, have lost their grip. That's why we brought too many students in, the rates went up, and those people hanging on let go. That's why we see that. So the relationship is with taxes, but the government defines poverty as a line. They pick a line based on the size of your family. If you're below it, you're poor. If you're above it, you're not. So the problem is we don't have the power to put income into families to bring new money into their income. But we are taking money away from them by not coming up with a tax solution. There's no rental, there's no person that rents that doesn't pay property tax. It's integrated into that. So I'm incredibly consistent on this. We have to solve the tax problem. That's the only way we can really make affordability and help people out. Otherwise, people are going to let go more and more.
Joe Ward, thank you. And we're going to wrap up this first round of 1 minute each with Carla George on the challenges around vulnerable populations in the CBRM.
Okay, so first of all, everybody should be treated with respect, dignity, and value, including our seniors. But we need some outside-of-the-box thinking here. We do have seniors that are in their own homes that have to make decisions between their medication, heat, electricity, these things. And I think we need to be negotiating with Irving, Loblaws, Walmart, and these different places to be giving our seniors some sort of a break somehow. And if we talk to all the stakeholders, for these guys, they're making record profits. So it's just a tax credit to them. But to us, it's life. And that can be the difference between somebody having heat or having food. And I think we need to look at that kind of outside-of-the-box thinking. And I think we need to address the homeless and addiction issue with having facilities made into homes that also have health care on site, so that they can rehab at home. Thank you.
Thank you. One more round with everyone, 30 seconds each to rebut, further a point you made earlier, comment on someone else's point. 30 seconds to you, Kevin McEachern.
Okay, it's not just our seniors and our homeless people, the veterans here. Veterans here in the CBRM are actually having a very hard time. I know a lot of them myself personally. I'd like to do more for them if I could. I do a little bit here and there. Our veterans and seniors need help. Simple as that.
Okay, thank you. Further to addressing challenges around vulnerable populations, James Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. Number one, everyone is relevant. We have to work with our services and our partners to deal with all aspects of mental health and addictions. We have much to learn from our community groups. We have to assist our community groups, and we have to have the boots on the street from the police to make sure that everybody feels safe in their communities.
Thank you, James. Archie?
You know, one of the things that we thought about is the equalization money. As I said before, you know, 45% of our municipality are seniors and are living in poverty. So if we got equalization money, one of the things that we actually talked about was reducing taxes for seniors that are on a certain income and allowing them from the age of 65 to pay less taxes. But we need that through equalization money.
Okay, thank you. Rankin McSween.
I think the fact that we have got people that are living on the street in the downtown, that's terrible, that's awful for everybody. The residents here, the visitors, and the people living on the street. 100 years ago, we moved Member 2. We moved Member 2 from Kings Road. That was shameful, that was tragic. And I would hope that in respect to the Ally Center, which we're scapegoating here, we can do better than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rankin McSween. Donnie Bassage, further thoughts?
Well, I believe we should help others who have less than we have. and others that have more than we have should be more generous. But everybody doesn't see it like that. There are people that keep it to themselves, but the way we should all look at it is that we too should contribute to people who are in poverty, don't have housing, don't have food to eat. We should do our best to try to help as many as we can. Thank you.
Okay. Cecil Clark, a further 30 seconds.
And I said to identify new appropriate locations, and not just for the Ally Center, for also homeless shelters as well, to give people dignity and a place they can call their home for that period. But look, people are feeling unsafe downtown Sydney. Seniors, Club 55, damages and concerned. Youth are scared, newcomers. The things I've heard said on the streets, first medical cause, cruise passengers are concerned. Go to the Hat and see what's happening with families. We have a problem, and a problem needs a plan, and the plan needs leadership. I offer that leadership. Go to votececilclark.ca and see my plan to take real action for vulnerable populations and support safer communities.
Okay, thank you, Cecil Clark. Joe Ward.
This is so divisive, but you know, human dignity and public safety are not mutually exclusive. Why do we think these people downtown want to be the object of scorn when people drive by? We could build a new facility. I've called for an integrated services facility that would look at doing a better Ally Center with a shelter there, beds for them to sleep and food to eat and a place for them to hang out where people wouldn't be eyeballing them as they drive by. It doesn't have to be divisive. They can work together.
You would there are beds at the Ally Center now. You would expand on that service?
What was the question again?
There are beds at the Ally Center now. You would expand that service?
It's not enough. We need more.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Last word to you, Carla George.
Yeah, so, you know, Cecil's right. We need leadership. We need change. What we're doing is not working. What has been done in the past is not working. We need outside-the-box thinking and people that are actually going to get things done. I'm that person. I'm here today to tell you that Carla George will get stuff done. I got no big business in my back pocket. Nobody's telling me what to do. I'm here for the people. And that's all the people of the CBRM, not just Sydney. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that wraps up discussion on that question. Thank you all. So next up, it's the issue of harbor development, which has been a driving force of public conversation for some time. First, it was the potential of a container port and the topic of an exclusive development agreement with Sydney Harbour Investment Partners. That became Novaport and a new focus on offshore wind. In the meantime, Council has considered several versions of a residential and commercial development on the waterfront, and we just saw the opening, of course, this fall of the new Nova Scotia Community College Sydney Waterfront campus. So our question to the candidates, how would you characterize Council's approach to harbour development? And what's your plan of action on harbour development as mayor? Starting us off for 1 minute on harbour development, James Edwards.
Thank you, Steve. It's the opportunities are limitless with the harbour. You're looking at offshore wind with green energy. Our cruise ships bringing in over $100 million annually. Just recently, Eskasoni bought into the shipbuilding plant on the other side of the harbour. The opportunities, but we need to have collaboration and cooperation with all the communities and stakeholders. What we don't need is another level of bureaucracy. We have to reduce the red tape. We have young, innovative, hardworking, and team building is required. We look forward to working with Council on this, and the possibilities are endless with the harbour for sure.
Okay, thank you. Archie McKinnon, what about you on Novaport harbour development?
Well, I think, yeah, there'd be a lot of support to try to get business and different things located down along the waterfront for all the tourists coming in. I think it's an excellent idea if it's going to bring money into the community and employ people, create jobs. You know, I think that we should be investing a little bit into the tourist industry of the boardwalk part. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so what specifically would you like to see done there?
Well, I'd like to see, like you said, get involved with all the different groups and organizations and business people and everything and try to create some employment down along the waterfront as well.
Thank you very much. On the issue of council's approach to harbor development, Rankin McSween, what is your plan of action on harbor development as mayor?
I think that for me, the development of the harbor and the role of the municipality, I mean, there's a number of words come to mind here that are critical, and they include transparency, they include accountability. I think that when the present contract in respect to the Greenfield site, when that concludes, that what should be done is what should have been done originally. Open it up to public tender. That's the way to ensure that we're getting our best bang for our buck. No more closed door deals. No more, we minimize the number of in-camera meetings. I think there's got to be very clear reason if council and the mayor have to meet in camera. There should be a briefing on that beforehand so that people understand why that has to be exceptional in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On harbor development, Don Bassich.
Well, Rankin has made a good point about openness. Openness is very important. Doing things behind closed doors, they don't have a very good purpose. It's because they got to get it done for whatever reason, we don't know. But in saying this, I believe harbor development is very, very important to Sydney, to downtown Sydney. I don't like the height of the buildings, but the fact is, we still have the development. It's good, it's going to help our economy, and it's going to provide jobs. So I hope we perspire in the way that we should when we want to be prospective. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And as someone who was involved in the previous administration, Cecil Clark, your thoughts on harbor development?
We're at a pivotal time right now where the opportunities before us can give us the benefit of the hard efforts and the accomplishments we have made and the economic growth we're seeing here in our harbor, and also now with the transition away from fossil fuels into the green economy. The federal and provincial governments have just enacted legislation for offshore energy opportunities. Renewables will allow Sydney Harbor to be a green energy hub and to be that opportunity of prosperity thanks to investments that have been made. I'm very proud of my role that secured federal commitment for the dredge of Sydney Harbor that positioned us to take advantage of getting then the navigational aids put in. I was proud while others were against the second berth. I was for it and made sure we had it to see when you have all the ships that have been in our harbor this past week to have the opportunities and the spin-off benefits that are taking place. As I mentioned about Build Nova Scotia taking over our boardwalk so our money can go into other downtown cores so tourists can go there and have an enjoyable experience as well. And also the province and Halifax as a joint regional transportation agency.
Thank you. We'll have to pick it up later in the rebuttal. Joe Ward, how would you characterize council's approach to harbor development?
So it's been delayed and there's been a lack of trust. There's been a lack of trust because we only get to see the marketing layer and then we don't necessarily see the track record for the people that are involved, and we have obvious doubts. So transparency is key. But we've got something coming up. The port marketer agreement is going to expire, and we have to, as a new council, go in and look at that and decide, is there any substance here that we want to pursue? We can tear it up, we can renew it, or we can open it up. And I think one of the things I heard today is MP Jaime Batiste talked about Bill C-49 passing and the amount of money that will be invested in this region with offshore green energy. So there may be something there, but maybe there's something there with a new partner. And the new partner I have my eye on, at least to invite to come into that agreement with us, would be Chief Terry Paul, Member 2 Corporation. His track record is there. We can see it. Everyone in the CBRM knows what he can do with 7th Exchange and Clearwater investments, and he can build housing. That's the guy we can trust, so I want to invite him into that mix.
Very good, Joe Ward, thank you. Carla George on harbor development, 1 minute.
So, first of all, windmills is outdated, old technology compared to the new technologies available today for any kind of energy services. And we should be absolutely getting involved in all new technology like hydrogen plants, micro hydrogen plants, so many things we could be doing that can also be funded by the federal and provincial government that the grants are available right now for. The other thing is that for the people on the panel here that have already served for the CBRM, you know, North Sydney, CME, this big building, and yeah, I'm sure it gave like 8, 10 jobs. That's great for 70,000 people. But I mean, it's not really supporting our waterfront. So what I want to do is make our waterfront open markets so that we're actually getting money back into our coffers from the permits and the different businesses. We need to think better about what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla George. And to complete this first go-round around the table, Kevin McCackern on Harbour Development.
Well, we definitely need harbor development here. We need something that we can invest in that's actually going to bring money back to the CBRM. A lot of the stuff right now that's going on, it's not. As far as I can see, there's money being wasted. It's not going into CBRM. If it was, we'd see a way to cut our taxes back. But green area development, definitely need it. We have to get stuff going that we can all work together, create jobs, get people off the streets, get everything happening so we have money coming back to the CBRM. Whatever we invest in, we have to make sure it's something that's feasible for the CBRM, not an idea that's going to blow things out of the water and lose our shirts on it. We have to do what's right for the CBRM.
Okay, very good. We'll end that on that point. That was the first round of 1 minute from everyone on harbour development. So we're asking how you would characterize Council's approach to harbour development. What's your plan of action on harbour development as mayor and perhaps in the future the Nova Port Agreement? We have 30 seconds of rebuttal from each of you, starting with James Edwards. James?
Steve, the harbour development translates to jobs. We have the opportunity to create a lot of jobs that keep our young people working, staying home, buying homes, paying property taxes. The harbour doesn't just apply to Sydney Harbour. We live on an island. There's several ports as well. One thing we don't need is we don't need more red tape on it. We don't need a transportation agency. No, we have to let the people, the new board in Sydney Harbour, look after business.
Thank you, James Edwards. Archie McKinnon.
And like I said, you know, we're trying to deal with an issue that we really don't know a lot about because a lot of it's been secret. So at the end of the day, you know, a lot of those people are politically appointed to those positions. So, I mean, we'd have to get in, and once we look at it, maybe we'd be eliminating the board and getting rid of it all altogether because there's been a lot of horror stories, but again, we can't prove anything because we don't have any information. It's like everything's hidden from the public.
Thank you very much. Rankin McSween on harbour development.
Look, I think that one of the mistakes we've made continuously, it's like the mayor and council, they meddle. They meddle in the business of the business. It seems to me we need a more business-like approach, wherein you got to understand the mayor and council is like the board of directors. They've got one employee that reports to them, and that's the CAO. What that CAO is responsible for has got to be really clear, and her performance or his performance has to be measured. That's the beginning of operating a renewed professional municipality in CBRM.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Donnie Bassich.
Mayor and council should work with harbour developers. They should work with all developers, helping the ease and pain and the frustration of waiting long times to get permits, long times to get the right orders in place, and because of lack of knowledge to do the job, council and the mayor should work together. And I'm sure that by doing work together, harbour development will satisfy everybody's needs. Thank you.
Back to you, Cecil Clark.
Well, Joe referenced Chief Terry Paul, and I couldn't agree more in terms of his leadership. When I think of what they say is everything he touched turns to gold, whether it's taking over Clearwater, the development up at 7th Exchange and on his own community a member to. They just bought a shipyard in Newfoundland. So everything he's touching is turning out to be very successful. And he's a full invested partner in Nova Port as well. And I trust Terry Paul's instincts and know his commitment to this community is to develop this community, create jobs in this community, and grow it.
Thanks, Cecil Clark. Joe Ward.
When Mayor Amanda McDougall supported the renewal of that agreement, she said that she did so because Chief Terry Paul had invested in it. She was protecting him. I'm not going to pull the rug out from under him. I want to give him the opportunity to take the leadership on it, not some people that we don't really know much about, someone we know a lot about, so not a piece of it. Maybe he can lead the whole thing.
Carla George.
Yeah, you know what, I'm just tired of always looking around and seeing all of our assets being sold to big corporations with us getting nothing back. Either it's the province taking it through the college being waterfront. Students didn't need waterfront. Okay, they don't care. Sitting in a room, they don't care to look at it. So we need to be smart about what we're doing, and you need to pick a leader that's actually going to change things. New technology is the way to go. All year-round tourism, things we can't control to bring money back. I'm your person. Vote for Carla George.
Thank you. Kevin McEachern, finish us off on the issue of harbour development.
Well, the harbor development, we have to all work together. Mayor, council, and all community leaders around. That includes the Indigenous people, that includes everyone around here. We have to work together. We have to get this done. We have to make it an investment that's going to bring money back to CBRM. Simple as that.
Okay, thank you very much. And that ends conversation on harbour development. You're watching us live streaming. I'm Steve Sutherland. I'm your moderator and host for the 2024 CBC Cape Breton Mayoralty Debate. We have your candidates on stage: Rankin McSween, Donnie Bassett, Cecil Clark, Joe Ward, Carla George, Kevin McEachern, James Edwards, and Archie McKinnon. Vince Hall, through no fault of his own, was unable to make it for the evening, and we wish Mr. Hall all the best. We'll be hearing from him further in the campaign. You're watching us on the CBC Nova Scotia webpage, CBC Gem, and the CBC YouTube channel. And we have 2 more questions to go. We're in the home stretch. Thank you all so much for your patience. I know it's not an easy thing. The lights are on you, the microphone's on you, and 1 minute for some very complex conversations is not very generous of us, but it's the best we're doing with so many people who've been so good to offer their names up for the leadership. And at least it's not 16 like in the HRM. So a question on transparency, not that it's a bad thing to have 16, I mean as moderator, that'd be tough. A question on transparency and accountability, something you brought up earlier, Rankin. What steps would you take when it comes to community engagement? What do you think needs to change? And how would you describe your approach to transparency and accountability? So we're going to finish off on this question with the last person on stage. Archie McKinnon, what about transparency and accountability? Your approach, should you be elected mayor?
Well, first of all, I'm going to reduce my salary by $25,000. That's a salary that Cecil actually increased his wages, $42,000 in 4.5 years. So I'm going to reduce it. And that's going to give me my credibility with people to show them that I'm not there for the money. I'm there to do what's good for the people. And I'm going to fight for equalization, and I'm going to make a commitment that if I'm elected mayor, I'm getting equalization because I've got the perfect plan.
Since we have a little time, what if you don't?
Oh, no, there's no don'ts about it. I've got the plan. I've got all the different organizations all in line. We've got 7,000 people right now signed up for a Cape Breton autonomy group that's going to be our bargaining tool for equalization. If the province of Nova Scotia doesn't want to give us equalization, well, maybe we'll just take a vote and maybe we don't want to be part of Nova Scotia anymore.
Archie McKinnon, thank you. Rankin McSween on the issues of transparency and accountability, how you would address that and what do you think needs to change?
As I said before, I think we need to move to operating, we need to change and begin to operate a modern municipality. A modern municipality is about transparency and openness. And I think one of the things that keeps trapping us, one of the things we keep tripping on, is the number of in-camera meetings. I don't think that's justifiable. We should have an in-camera meeting when we have to have an in-camera meeting, because if we don't, we'll be sued. Otherwise, everything else should be open. I think that for me begins to bring that bar up. That's critically important. Thank you.
Any other measures? You have a little time.
I don't understand why it would ever be, why ever in the past whenever we're looking at the possibility of a project, why we don't tender it out. How otherwise do we know if we're getting the best possible deal that we can get?
Okay,
Open
thank
it
you
up.
very much. Thank you, Rankin McSween. Donnie Bassich.
Thank you. When I hear the word transparency and accountability, well, I'd like you to know that's part of my Bible. And no matter who's elected here as a mayor, you must get exactly what I said: transparency and accountability. And if they're not willing, if the mayor-to-elect is not accountable with it, then he should probably walk back. But if you're going to vote for any mayor, any man to be mayor, make sure that they will give you transparency and accountability. Thank you.
Any particular measure that you would introduce?
Any particular one?
Any particular measure that you would introduce?
Well, if I transparency and accountability speaks for itself.
Okay. Donnie Bassich, thank you. On the issues of transparency and accountability, what steps would you take when it comes to community engagement? What do you think needs to change? How would you describe your approach? Cecil Clark.
Public trust must be assured. So to do so, within 30 days of swearing in, Council will create a clear set of term priorities by region, division, and district to guide the 2025 budget process based upon our input with citizens, community, and business groups. The term priorities will include the Council going forward with a 4-year business plan and an 8-year forecast on operations, capital, and needs and financial stability, and will put the taxpayers first. And within 90 days of being installed, carry out a full external and internal review of how the CBRM is run, set a province-wide standard for reporting, and encourage the creation of a municipal auditor general. And the CBRM will ask the province to hire an independent audit firm to look at the term priorities and assure that the 4-year plan and 8-year forecast have the credibility and the assurance. And I think as mentioned before about the $15 million plan to get our fair share back and restored from the Premier's commitment, and also work.
We'll have to interrupt you there. Joe Ward on transparency and accountability.
Transparency and accountability are absolutely not just buzzwords if you get someone in that truly believes them. The first thing we can do is, instead of allowing council and mayor to be judged every 4 years when it's too late, we'll let citizens judge them every 6 months and tell us how we're doing so that we can respond, and the media can ask why our ratings were so low if we're not doing what they need. Now, for the people that don't think equalization or getting more will work on this stage, that's fine. I have something for you too. I have something called a clear team audit, a council-led examination and review, and I chose that acronym just because it says clear. But what that is the council taking information from every department and analyzing it ourselves, not in years-long studies, just to take a look. The first thing would be a sunshine list. Let's look at the layers of management and see how many are there and how much they're making. Let's see how many of them are related to the executives and whether or not that's appropriate. Let's see if they're qualified for that job or if they've moved from one department or another when they shouldn't have. We have to look inside and not in a multi-year external consultant rubber stamp kind of deal. We'll do it ourselves. Clear.
Joe Ward, thank you. 1 minute from Carla George.
Yeah, so, a couple people up here have mentioned, about the pay, and they'll reduce the pay. And how about earning it? How about actually getting up there and say, you know what, I'm worth every penny of it. Because I'm going to do the right thing moving forward. My idea of transparency is every meeting is open unless it has to be in camera for staffing issues due to privacy. That's it. Everything else should be open for discussion. We don't live in a place where you guys don't have a voice. You have a voice, and it's not only every 4 years, it's every day. Your voice is important. And we need to take that importance, and we need to make it count. We need to talk to all the stakeholders. We need to make ourselves available. We need to make sure we're available in our offices when anybody wants to come in and have a meeting. Maybe not within 24 hours, but you get there. You know what I'm saying? So how about let's start earning our pay? Thank you.
Thank you, Carla George. So on community engagement, what do you think has to change when it comes to transparency at the CBRM? Kevin McCachran?
Well, number one, I think that these closed-door meetings got to stop. Mayor and council, they are elected officials. People put them in there. People should know what they're doing at all times. Don't go and do the closed-door meetings. Say, oh, you can't speak from the gallery. If someone wants to speak on a topic, which it has happened to myself, we'll get into that another time. Things have to change. If the people feel there's something wrong, they should have a voice to go up and voice it at City Hall at any time, any day. There's closed-door meetings, the stuff going on behind the scene has to be seen by the people. Major decisions as being voted on by Mayor and Council has to be voted on by the people of the CBRM. As simple as that.
Okay, thank you, Kevin McEachern. James Edwards, what steps would you take when it comes to transparency? What do you think needs to change, if anything?
Well, communication is key, not only within Mayor and Council, but with the public as well. One of the things that I would institute would be a regular state of affairs public address by the mayor, whether it be on a monthly or quarterly basis, just to bring everybody up to speed on what is going on in council, what's been said. For those who don't pay attention to the council meetings. But everything is in the open, the good and the bad, save in camera, by the way, which is governed by the Municipal Government Act. But the other thing that we look at having that I did quite a bit of in my own district were community meetings. What I would do as mayor is I would encourage councillors to have community meetings, and I would attend them with the councillor. One of the things that seems to be a bone of contention with the public is our expenses, the council and mayor expenses. That would be posted on a regular basis. And again, we are governed by the MGA, so the in-camera proceedings would be published as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James Edwards. That is the first round of conversation on accountability and transparency. One round of rebuttal, 30 seconds each. First, starting with you, Archie McKinnon.
Yeah, I'm not Cecil. That's what I want people to know. I'm not Cecil. If I'm elected mayor, I'm getting equalization and I'm lowering property taxes. I'm not looking for Cecil's record of being the mayor that taxed the people of Cape Breton the highest. And in the same scenario, every time he gave us a tax increase, he gave himself a raise. $16,000 the first term and $26,000 the second term because he needed the money. He was running into leadership.
Rankin McSween.
One of the things that is really important to me in terms that we got to deal with, I think, in a sense, there's like two CBRMs. There's the people that are feeling they're part of a change, mostly the people in Sydney and other communities connected with Sydney. Outside of that, as we were campaigning, one of the things that was really clear is other communities that are further away from Sydney, they really feel like they're not part of what's going on in the center. And they're saying, why does Sydney get everything? Why are we forgotten?
Okay, we'll move on to Donnie Bassage. One more word from you.
Well, when I look at a mayor's salary, I can say for myself is my tax bracket is going to go from where it is now to 53%. So what I'm going to do with the 53% that I'm going to have to pay in taxes, I'm going to put it towards poverty, food banks. I'm going to put that money out where people that really need it are going to have. So, and by doing so, that would be my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecil Clark.
In August of 2019, Grant Thornton produced the viability study that we needed when the province wouldn't fund an audit. And so my plan builds on carrying that forward because it got lost the last 4 years. And one of the things I'll put in for taxpayer accountability is that we'll put in place a taxpayer's first declaration on all documents. So it'll guide the decision making, but show for every decision of council that staff bring forward, they have to say, how does this benefit the taxpayers and account for them?
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Joe Ward, 30 seconds.
One of the problems that we had with the lack of trust in CBRM, we can understand when elected officials went into in-camera meeting and voted to give themselves, or talked about giving themselves a raise. That wasn't supported by the MGA. That's for personnel. We would be elected people. So that's why we don't trust it. In my platform at electjoeward.com, you'll see an item that says, I'd like to go in and find out what happened in those in-camera meetings, to audit them myself and find out if what was going on was actually supported by the MGA.
Thank you very much. Carla George.
Hey. So I hear everybody talking about CBRM, and it's not really the CBRM they're talking about. They're talking about Sydney. They're not including all the stakeholders. And we need to talk about places like Georges River or Lower Brador. You know, we need to have these conversations, and we need everybody to be in. We need to have a direction that we're all going towards that direction. We're supporting it 100%, and that's why we're going to be successful together.
Thank you very much. Kevin McEachard and then James Edwards. One more moment on accountability. You first, Kevin.
Well, I think that most importantly, the closed-door meetings have to stop. These camera meetings, if they're going to be on camera, have the public come in. Have council open at all times for all meetings. Let the people state their opinions and go from there.
Okay. The final question on accountability and how you would approach it if you were mayor, James Edwards.
Again, thank you, Steve. We are governed by the Municipal Government Act, and there are some times when in-camera meetings are necessary. There's no question about that. But we do publicize them as quickly as possible. There is no voting in in-camera meetings, by the way. All votes are in the public gallery, which are all broadcast by on closed-circuit TV and reported on by CBC and others.
Okay, thank you very much. And that ends conversation on the question of accountability and transparency. And we do have one more question before we wrap up tonight. But before we do that, that's the first time I got cut off as moderator. I'm sure someone would like to do it sometimes. Thank you all very much for your patience. We had a late start due to circumstances beyond our control. I wanted to say thank you very much to all our candidates. A round of applause for your candidates for Mayor of the CBRM for this year. You can only imagine how difficult it is to do something like this when you've done it. And few people have, so kudos to them for putting the names forward. Thank you all very much for being a great audience, for being flexible tonight, and for maintaining your time, attention, and patience. We're very grateful for that. This will be available online. Thanks to everybody who joined us on the live stream. Once again, due to circumstances beyond his control, Vince Hall was not able to be here tonight. Our best wishes to Mr. Hall. We will be posting this online in the coming days. You can find it on CBC Listen and on the CBC Nova Scotia YouTube page. We also, if you'd like to relive some of these moments, will begin broadcasting segments on Information Morning. I'll be up at 5:55 tomorrow at 92.1 FM. I assume that most of you will be there with me. Thank you all very much for your attention, and we will be talking to you very early tomorrow morning. But before we go, one more segment. I'll need that microphone back, Malcolm. So this is a simple one, not on your life. I've always said it's way easier to ask the questions than to answer them. This is a simple but a complicated question. What is your vision for the CBRM and the people of the CBRM? We're going to finish tonight by asking you, how will things be different after your term? And what are the elements of your plan that will get us there? So we're going to finish where we started with Rankin McSween on your vision.
Thank you very much. I think this has been in my heart for an awful long time. We've come over the years, this is a community that really struggled. And it was like we were living this story, this ongoing story that was about poverty, and it was about powerlessness. It was about a lack of confidence in ourselves. It was about dependency. And for me, my vision, my dream, is that as a community we write a new story, and that new story be about prosperity for all of our people, that it be about confidence, it be about possibility, it be a story wherein new people continue to come to our shores, and it be a story that calls our children home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rankin McSween. Donnie Bassich, a minute on your vision for this municipality and its residents.
Thank you. My vision for the CBRM under my leadership will provide nominal growth. We need to look at removing the need for any additional special assessments within the CBRM. By spending our revenues wisely, we will be able to deliver and proper services by doing our due diligence. Our residential taxpayers deserve lower property taxes. I have a decisive plan to institute a rebate of up to $1,000 per taxpayer within the first yearly budget of 2025 and 2026 tax season. We can create a solid plan to reduce our outstanding debt while eliminating the extravagant of spending. My belief is we can reduce any possibility, remove the wastewater tax. With our population growth and the lack of housing to secure safety in our communities, we'll advocate for additional trained police officers.
Okay, you'll have to pick it up in the rebuttal. Thank you, Donnie. Cecil Clark.
My vision for the CBRM is one that accelerates our economic growth, addresses challenges within our community, and builds our quality of life, and makes us prouder of where we're from. A place where everyone feels at home, welcome, included, and equal. I'll restore confidence in local government and deliver improved outcomes sooner. To help our citizens get ahead, we must move beyond the unfinished business of the previous administration. Under my leadership, Council will come to the table with a clean slate, allowing for a fresh start. Improving services and adding value to taxpayers will be Council's #1 job to address the affordability challenges facing people. I'll provide the leadership you deserve by focusing on putting taxpayers first, getting back to basics, and ensuring clean, safe, and accessible communities. I'm ready to guide CBRM's growth while getting our fair share. It's an achievable vision. My plan will get us there. I ask for your support to elect me, Cecil Clark, as your next mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecil Clark. On vision for the CBRM and how things would be different under your term, Joe Ward.
Our new story has to be about sustainable growth, not painful growth, which is what we're experiencing right now. To do that, we need tax reform. I think we can get that deal done. I think we can make it more affordable for everyone to live in their house and not to be thinking about moving out west or moving somewhere else. I think we can achieve that. It's going to have to come through tax reform. We're going to see a housing boom when that happens. There's going to be sustainable jobs that are not government infrastructure led. It's going to actually be private development and sustainable jobs long term. And we're going to have the best version of trust that the CBRM has ever seen when we take transparency and accountability away from just buzzwords and we turn them into real things. That's what I'm offering. I'm offering something very different. I am not a politician with any political baggage. I'm someone with ideas who is a natural solution maker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe Ward. On the elements of your plan and your vision, Carla George.
So my vision is to do all year-round tourism. I want to take the railroad tracks and turn them into ATVs, snowmobile trails, charge people permits to use them. I want to use the scrap metal to put back in our coffers and groom those trails so we're not actually paying for it. And there's a lot of scrap there, tell you what. I've been in construction for over 35 years, and there's a lot of money in them rails. And it ain't the kind of money that they're thinking we're going to get out of it, but the scrap is a lot. So anyways, new technology is the next thing. We need to support young people with their inventions and their ideas, and I want to bring that to young people. I want to support them in making sure that we can get engineers out there to mentor them and give them guidance, and patent specialists to secure their ideas, and grants and loans people to help them negotiate those grants and loans. So I want to make sure that we're moving forward in a direction that's bringing money back to us. If we keep the faucet flowing, like you had 8 years, you didn't do it then. I don't know why anybody thinks you're going to do it now. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Carla George, candidate for mayor in 2024. Kevin McEachern, on your vision.
I want Sydney to be back the way it was 25 years ago. Clean, honest, and safe. I think the mayor and council have to be changed completely, including deputy mayor. Sorry. But, sorry about that.
Well, that is why you're running, I assume.
But we all have to work together. Everybody has to sit down at the table, work things out, get things working for ourselves. get the CBRM's income coming back to it. Sustain what we have, build what we don't have, build what has to come in. Simple.
Okay, thank you, Kevin McCachran. So your vision for the CBRM and the people of the CBRM and the elements of your plan that'll get us there. James Edwards, 1 minute.
Thank you, Steve, and no offense taken, by the way. But what we have to focus on is we have to focus on what matters most to Cape Bretoners. Taxes, our police, our safety, and our fire services. We have to focus on our public works, our health care, housing, communication, transportation, education, and along with that, I almost said above all, but consistent with that, our economic development. We have to create employment for the young people and for all people in CBRM to make Cape Breton the go-to place. We want people to work here, live here, and enjoy their lives. And we want to bring people home. We want to bring our young people home to Cape Breton as well. Thank you.
Very good. James Edwards. On your vision for the CBRM and its residents, Archie McKinnon.
Well, my vision's lower taxes. People thinking that we got a mayor here now that really cares. You know, I want to be involved with all the nonprofit organizations as I am now, to do whatever I can to help the people that are suffering in our communities and bring pride back to the mayor's chair. I belong to a municipality, as I said, over 30 years ago that we were proud. We didn't have people coming to our council meeting, screaming and hollering the way they are here with these people. But I mean, that's what's going on. People know, you know. It's been going on for 30 years, and I'm gonna make a commitment to Father Maroon again that I made to him on Indian Beach. Is that, Father Maroon, you've been 93 years of age, you don't have to wait until you're 97 for equalization, because I'm getting it, and I'm getting it this time.
Archie McKinnon, thank you. That finishes the first round of conversation on vision. We have one more round, 30 seconds from each of the candidates to either touch on something that you missed before or give us further thoughts on the elements of your plan for the people of the CBRM. Rankin McSween, half a minute.
I think we've got lots of challenges, undoubtedly. But I think at this moment in time, we've got a chance. We've got a chance like we've never had for a long, long time to build a sustainable CBRM. I think what's important to me is that as we do this, we leave no community within CBRM behind, and we leave no person behind. We've got a chance, and I want a chance to show you I can do it. Thank you very much.
Donnie Bassett.
As having new blood, I can assure you my plan is achievable. It will give the taxpayers, as well as future homeowners, a new beginning of growth and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecil Clark.
One of the things I can assure all the citizens of CBRM is to apply the same approach I've done tonight. I'm attacking issues and looking for solutions, not attacking individuals. We have to have civility to have partnerships. We have to have respect if we want to get better outcomes. That's what I know how to do. That's what I've done. This is the community that I'm from. It's the community where I live. It's the community where I love, and it's the community where I want to be the mayor and get the taxpayers' issues out in front and serve them well and bring our community to a new level.
Cecil Clark, thank you. Joe Ward.
I mentioned a clear team audit. One of the things we need to look at is actually how staff is doing in our departments. The problems are really council, mayor, and management level, but the employees get lumped in with that. Let's find out why there's a toxic relationship between fire services and the volunteer departments. Let's find out why morale is low with police officers and we're having trouble recruiting. Let's look into all those departments and make sure that those people are being taken care of and that they're being respected by mayor, council, and all administration.
Thank you, Joe Ward. Carla George.
So, I agree with you 100%, Joe, on that. Everybody should have dignity and respect in their jobs and their focus, and that's something that absolutely has to be looked at. But a lot of what I've heard tonight is a lot of platitudes. There's no real direction on how we're going to achieve the things. It's just we need to do this. Well, of course we need to do it. We need to get it done. But we need real solutions on how we're going to get that done. And I think I've provided you with real solutions, so thank you. Vote for Carla George is a vote for change.
Thank you, Carla George. Kevin McEachern.
Well, it's not just a vote for Carla George, it's a vote for anybody up here right now. I apologize. I personally think that the staff at City Hall needs a lot of shuffling around as well. Mayor and staff are elected officials. We have to do what the people that elect us to do. Simple as that.
Okay, thank you, Kevin McEachern. In the home stretch for this topic and for this evening, James Edwards, 30 seconds.
Thank you, Steve. 4 years ago, when I was elected to council, I certainly didn't see myself standing here to running for mayor. But I really have the feeling that we're on the verge of something big in CBRM, and things are happening that I really want to be a part of. We can't go back to the way we were. I know I have the skills to lead the CBRM, and I'm not afraid of the work. My vision for CBRM is for more families to stay and work and stay home in Cape Breton.
Thank you very much. James Edwards. Last word of the evening, last word of the question on vision goes to Archie McKinnon.
Well, like I said, I'm going to bring integrity back to City Council. I'm going to be open, I'm going to be honest, and as I said, I'm going to lower my wages, and I won't be, also, Cecil, I forgot to mention, I won't be going out and buying $38,000 worth of watches, sweaters, and free tickets to Center 200 to get cards for leadership.
We're going to end it on that note. Thank you all very much on the issue of vision. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Safe travels home. Don't forget, the conversation continues every morning on Information Morning. We've been doing candidates roundtables with every single candidate in every district on Cape Breton Island, and that continues right up until the last day before the election. Please, one more round of applause for Rankin McSween, Donnie Bassett, Cecil Clark, Joe Ward, Carla George, Kevin McEachern, James Edwards, and Archie McKinnon. And you also have Vince Hall as your candidate. Thank you for your participation.